Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is the Business and the Sillyville edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you would like to catch the show live. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. First, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Oculus are all down. Here's what we know. This was the big story at the beginning of the week. Facebook goes down. Now, according to them, the outage was caused by a BGP root update. And basically, this means that the internal systems which controlled everything were all shut down. However, there's some people questioning small portions of this because part of the DNS is actually hosted on Amazon and all that was working, but everything else was shut down. And it was shut down in such a way that many, not all, but many of the employees at Facebook also could not get in the building. So Facebook announced a snow day. And so everyone got a chance to go home. And the conspiratorial portion is that this is the very day that Facebook whistleblower was talking to, was it Congress or Senate or whatever person out there. So this also became a big political issue because this person seems to be a very left-leaning person. Now, Facebook, you have to understand, they're not a super left-leaning, but they're not a super right-leaning. They actually, as crazy as it sounds, Facebook is a fairly centralist, probably lean left organization. We know that the Zuck uses his profit for some democratic causes, but Facebook itself is also oftentimes criticized for having the right-wing crazy nut jobs like Ben Shapiro. But first, the fact of the matter is Facebook is not quite as left-leaning as many other people in the competition, and this led to some conspiracy theories that they were shutting themselves down for the day so a few key people could erase some data because of the whistleblower. I'm not sure I put any credence in any of that, but just telling you what some of the people are talking about. Officially, all of these products were shut down because a BGP root update happened. Basically, it's a more advanced localized DNS system which caused the problems. This caused a shutdown of all the Facebook-owned companies, including the information that would be required to let many Facebook employees into the company itself. And so this is why a lot of people went down. It just happened to coincide with this. So was there something weird or nefarious? I don't know, to be perfectly honest, because there's also been a lot of criticism mounting on Facebook properties because of, for example, the Instagram report showing how dangerous Instagram is for young people, and Facebook was supposed to push out the kids' Instagram, but they delayed this. So there's a lot of questions about what's going on, and the timing of this seemed a little bit too convenient with everything else going on about Facebook in the world. So maybe it was just there to avoid a dumpster fire while a whistleblower was being interviewed. Maybe that had to do with it, but who really knows? Honestly, I'm not going to cover it any more than that because this story was beat to death way more than I thought it would be the entire week. Just kind of a brief summary of everything that I have heard. Now, as of now, the advanced deadline for the robocall mitigation goes into effect. This would have been as of last week, I believe. Unfortunately, I'm still getting some robocalls. I've gotten a few of them already earlier this week. So clearly what they're doing is not actually doing anything. But in theory now, the stir shaken protocol entered for the the large major U.S. carriers earlier in June. Smaller subscribers or smaller providers with less than 100,000 subscribers had an extended deadline. That deadline is now in place. So now in theory, nobody is allowed to have an unauthenticated robocall come in from out of the United States into a United States carrier. It's still happening. I guarantee if you get any of those robocalls and you do whatever to attempt to get a person. Now, a warning, some people are saying that some of them are now you push the button and it goes to an old 1-900 was the old way you do it, where it would cost you money for pushing the button. Some people have said that, but really these robocalls are still getting in. Nice try, but why don't you do something different? And so in theory, the protocol's in. In theory, it should stop the robocalls. I still have received some, however, so who knows? We'll see if that helps down the road. Well, Tinder and Lyft are partnering up so that if you happen to swipe this way, swipe that way, and boom, you found Mr. Right. Mr. Right. Okay, well, hey, it's transgender world anyway. Why not? Then you can now send your Mr., Ms., or Zed a ride on Lyft. And the part that I don't like about this is the fact that if you do not have a Lyft account, and you are on Tinder, you're like, ooh, let me give you a Lyft. You're basically sending the Lyft account over to the person. The person can then get this and click this and then create the account. And I wonder at times if this is sharing more data with Lyft than a person may want. And I've seen this happen a lot, like Dropbox, for example. Someone will send you some Dropbox link. I am completely anti-Dropbox. Don't have a Dropbox account, will not get a Dropbox account. And people are like, here's a link to my Dropbox. Well, thank you. You just shared my email address with Dropbox. No. And now Dropbox is like, hey, just a reminder, you want to pick your Dropbox account? I'm like, pick your favorite finger, Dropbox, because I don't want you. But now somebody slimy just handed me my email address to them because they think that I might happen to want a Dropbox account. I'm sorry, no thank you. And I wonder if this is much the same way, because you are literally getting a link from Lyft to pick up your ride, and if you don't already have a Lyft account, you would then have to create one. Makes me wonder, do people literally have one email address that they're using for everything? I guess that's probably the norm, but Lord, how bad is that for security? I guess I don't think about it because I have like 20 email addresses for different purposes, but anyway. There's something said for segregation and separation, you know. But anyway, now you can send people the Lyft accounts through your Tinder account. They can reject it, in which case you'd get your money back. You can do a two-way, you can do a one-way, and so they're getting enough in here to bounce back and forth with. It's fair enough. So whatever that is. Well, Cloudflare does not have to cut off copyright infringing websites. All right, I want to talk about this one because it's an interesting case to examine. So what happened here is there is a company that their copyrighted data is being infringed upon, and these companies that are passing it around, they're basically playing a case of whack-a-mole. One pops up, they shut them down. Another one pops up, they shut them down. Another one pops up, they shut them down. There's hundreds of these things going on. But what this company found out is that like nearly every one of these companies is using Cloudflare as their distribution. Now, it's not really, Cloudflare's not a host. What they are is they're a multi-point distribution platform. So you have a central host, and then Cloudflare is going to ping this across a regional location to balance the load between different servers and to cut things off. So this company said, why don't I just go ahead and sue Cloudflare, because they're ultimately the one that's allowing people to access all my infringed material. The judge ruled that no, this is not the case because Cloudflare is not in and of itself the host. I completely agree with this ruling. Cloudflare did not have anything to do, anything wrong here. But the reason I wanted to point this up is it raises more concerns. In my opinion, Cloudflare is too large. This is why I completely reject Firefox using DNS over HTTPS, defaulting it to Cloudflare, because what they're doing is the vastest majority of websites now are pinging through Cloudflare. They have access to them. And now all these people using Firefox, by default, they're pinging through Cloudflare's DNS. So Cloudflare can now see a wide variety of who's doing what on the internet, seeing and deploying. And this is a company that a guy woke up one point in time and said, well, I was just feeling in a weird mood, so I decided that this guy shouldn't be on my service, and he cut him off. Well, that's a little bit crazy for a company that controls most of the internet. And as more and more companies go with Cloudflare, this is a concern that I have. So it makes sense that this person would try to do this, but I do actually agree with the judge. Cloudflare had nothing wrong to do here, but I still think Cloudflare is way too large. This is why I won't have anything to do with Cloudflare. They're too big. They need to lose market share because they have a dangerous amount of web stuff. And it also creates a single point of failure that if you take out Cloudflare, you can take out a large portion of the internet. It's like taking out a DNS server. I mean, we saw in the previous news section, Subscribestar was down, and guess what? It was down somewhere at the hosting resolving portion with Cloudflare. And that's a common thing. If you've ever seen a Cloudflare website that's not resolving, that's what's going on. So ultimately, yeah, I agree with the judge's assessment. It's not Cloudflare that's actually hosting anything, but I still think Cloudflare's too big. And so we need to take active steps to make it a little bit smaller. And finally, we have a dystopian brain implant. So this is a landmark U.S. study. They're implanting this brain chip into somebody, and when the person, the person's brain started being basically depressed, the implant would do some electrotherapy inside the brain and reverse everything, and cause them to have basically treat the depression. And this person's like, I was crippled by depression for 5 years, and then all of a sudden now I actually am able to function. Now, the thing that I'm really concerned about this, and I actually should have done a different affiliate. I should have actually talked about my, maybe I'll do that. In fact, we'll go ahead and change my affiliate for this episode. My book called Synaptergy is somewhat similar to this, which is very interesting. And I have a whole science fiction novel about this. But this is what they said. Almost immediately after being inserted deep into her brain, the device provided relief, which has so far lasted for a year. When it detects neural activity associated with irrational thoughts, which previously triggered depressive obsessions, its electrodes deliver short corrective electric pulse and poof, the cycle stops, as Sarah puts it. So, are not a whole lot of people in the world considered by half of the nation to be considered irrationally thinking? Maybe we probably should not implant things into people's brains which interact with irrational thoughts, because perhaps the irrational thoughts are actually really thinking. But you're running around saying you're irrational. It's kind of like the one senator. I'm not going to get political here, so I'm going to name any names. If you've seen the clip, you've seen it. But the one senator is talking to the person making policies about needlecraft, and he's like, this guy's not a scientist at all. He's a lawyer, and he's been a lawyer for his whole career. And he's like, and this person who is actually a scientist said, hey, do you think it's appropriate for you, who has no scientific study, to be dictating what everybody else is and simply declaring that anybody that disagrees with you is flat earth, despite a lot of scientific study to the contrary? That's really what it boiled down to. Well, that guy basically thinks that everyone who does not agree with his specific point of view is an irrational thinker. So do we really need some implant which will detect neural activity associated with irrational thoughts and then poof, the cycle stops? No, that's a little bit dystopian. It definitely is dystopian. And so with that, what I would like to do is I was going to actually talk about a different affiliate, but instead we're going to talk about my book called Synaptergy. So you can find information here at tlm.li/s. So my novel Synaptergy specifically looks at this person who actually has some implants. You can come on over here, tlm.li/s or synaptergy.com. You can read chapter 1, or actually you can listen to the first 5 minutes of chapter 1 on SoundCloud. My privacy badger is blocking it right now. And then you can actually pick it up directly from me, or you can go with Amazon, Audible, iTunes, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, audiobooks.com, Google Audiobooks. There's a lot of different places. There's also some for UK and places like that. So head on over to synaptergy.com and you can get more information on the science fiction novel and learn about why we do not need to be doing dystopian brain implants. All right, guys, let's head on over to Sillyville. All right, so first up in Sillyville, The Wayforward Machine provides a glimpse into the future of the web. All right, so Internet Archive suspects what the Internet of 2046 looks like. And so basically, you go into the Wayforward Machine now, and it's going to go into the future. So this website here has classified content. You can leave it or you can divulge personal details. There's 8 steps here to the global network securities, or you might have your business is no longer in existence anymore. So you can actually come on over here, and then the triangle ones, like I think I forget exactly. But I went ahead and went into the Wayforward Machine and to see what Switch to Linux is going to look like in the Wayforward Machine. So we get future looks pretty scary. Let's find a better way forward. Help us spread the word about dangers of the internet, freedom, find out who can help them. Together we can work for a future where access is universal. This is really funny, though, from an organization that's actually is editing the Internet Archive. I kid you not, they're actually internet. Access denied. This content is unavailable to users beyond the firewall. All right. No, don't do that. All right, so this says classified content. This website includes information that can only be accessed by users who share their personal information. Guys, this is Switch to Linux site. This will never happen. All right, so I can leave the website or I can divulge personal details. My name is Bob. No, my name is Joe, and I work in a button factory. All right, my name is Joe Smith. Let's see, button factory tester. None yo business. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sounds good to me. Oh, look at that. Step 6 of 48. Let's see. Let's do Springfield. See how long this actually takes. Age 56. Gender. We're just having too much fun with this one. Apache helicopter. Email address. bob@thebuttonfactory.com. Course. You can tell that I patched up these guys here. There we are. Z keeps on adding things. 5, 7. There you go. See, it's never going to end. Basically, classified content. Oh, this business no longer exists. No longer able to come. Let's see. Trying to access was either no longer able to comply or found to be in breach of the new regulations brought about in the 2029 Monopolies Commission. Oh yeah. Whoa there. Are you over 18? Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. All right. You're gonna get any more? All right. And then, of course, we got this Ministry of Truth one available. The site is temporarily available for your own good. See, I don't use this many pop-ups, nor would I ever. So, obviously it's stupid. So anyway, the Wayback Machine, they're trying to be funny with this. And this is funny from an organization who actually literally is censoring the past of the internet. But to whatever it is. Well, next, Blue Origin is sending William Shatner to space. Why is Blue Origin's rocket look so phallic? Anyway, so William Shatner, I believe, is in his 90s now. So it's like, maybe he's just planning on dying up there. Maybe it's just a giant ploy by his family to get a bunch of insurance money out of Blue Origin. But yeah, so, William Shatner, of course, Star Trek fame, flying into space. Of course, we had to. Ransomware gangs are complaining that other ransomware gangs are stealing their ransoms. Oh, how sad. You're actually stealing people, and the money you've stolen is getting stolen from you. Cry me a river of tears. But I stole 30 million, and somebody came by and stole 10 million of the 30 million I stole. What in the world? I mean, this is just as bad as the ransomware guys having the tech support line, which somebody noted is better than Cox Internet. Cyber criminals using a ransomware as a service scheme have been spotted complaining that the group they rent malware from could be using a hidden backdoor to grab ransom payments for themselves. You can't make this crap up anymore. What is going on with these guys? So yeah, they're all mad about the ransomware services putting backdoors on the ransomware that they're selling as a service for scraping off money off of the ransoms that they're collecting. Hey, it's malware as a service. What were you expecting? Them to play fair? Duh. All right. Well, Netflix edited the Squid Game. I do not know what Squid Game is, but apparently it's some popular show on Netflix because they kept a phone number in their show. It ended up being a woman in South Korea. They offered her like $1,000, but it's like it literally has shut down her business. It would be really interesting to see Netflix having to pay like her whole salary for the rest of her career because they basically effectively killed her business by publishing her website online. And I know some people in the comments are like, what type of moron calls a phone number that you see on the, on some TV show? Well, you don't actually have to be much of a moron because a lot of TV shows and movies have actually done that and put funny spoofs or bonus content into those phone numbers. And so really, really there's reasons people would try it, but this is also why there's always been a list of phone numbers that will never be used. There's, of course, in the old day, it was 555, in front of a number, which is something that's never used. But there's also phone numbers that are used that are specifically set to never be assigned to anything so that a TV show can have a more realistic phone number in the show. And they failed to do that. They just used some random number and it ended up actually being somebody's phone number, and it was somebody's business number. And so she's like, I can't change numbers, but she's getting so many repeated calls and text messages that her phone just perpetually dies because of the amount of money coming in and out of it. So very interesting. Well, now our final story. Apple would like to put climate control, seat adjustments, and instrument clusters on your iPhone. So guys, we're not supposed to be messing around with our phones when we're driving. So the new Apple AirPlay approach is to put the car controls on your phone. Why? It's dangerous. I think the big touchscreens in cars are dangerous. There's no tactically feeling around for what you're looking for. Okay, this is a problematic thing, and they say here, a recipe for further distracted driving? Yes. So Apple's reportedly looking to expand its CarPlay integration into the big way. Similar sources familiar with the company's plans told Bloomberg that Apple is developing technology that would allow users to access and control vehicle functions like the climate control system, seat position, and the instruments directly from the iPhone itself. You're not supposed to be touching this stupid thing. That's the whole point. Okay, a program known as Ironheart is said to still be in the early stages of development. It would require cooperation with automakers in order to be launched as a consumer products. No, I don't want anything which is going to be pushing car controls onto the phone itself. Keep your phone as completely separated from your car as conceivably possible. And we don't need to put basic controls for the car on the phone. That's what the dash is for. These cars are removing all of that functional space on dashes for tactile buttons that can do real things, to put giant touchscreens that you have to stare at while you're barreling down the interstate at 90 miles an hour. Well, depending on where you are, of course. But this is so dangerous. Like, where is the traffic boards at? Why are they not saying, no, stop, just stop. Stop wasting your money on this right now. We don't need to be putting car controls on the phone itself. Use tactile spaces on your dashboard. I know you don't want to get into your car and have a dashboard full of buttons. You would prefer a giant television screen so you can be completely distracted while driving down the road. But, oh well, I guess that's what it is. So anyway, Apple is trying to kill us all. Well, you can help support the channel over on Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. If you'd like to jump on there, that will help support all the different channels that we have. And with that, we will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.